The President, please be seated. The court is back in session. I hand over to the defense team for Mr. Nguyen Chia to continue his line of questioning. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for the opportunity to let us discuss briefly amongst ourselves about certain issues. The good news is that I, after this conversation, do not have any further questions for this witness. I do want to point out for the record that several Khmer speakers have commented on the translation of the expression "of the record," and we just want to make sure that there's no confusion about this term. So when we speak about a conversation that is off the record, what is meant usually means that a conversation has been conducted, in this case between the OCIJ and the witness, and that conversation has not been recorded. So I hope that makes it also a bit clearer for the Khmer speakers, the issues that we were raising with regard to that interview we were talking about, off-the-record conversations between investigators of the OCIJ and another witness in the village of this witness. Other than that, I have no further comments, so I would like to thank you, Mr. Sok Chin, for coming here and answering these questions today on behalf of the Nguyen Chia defense team. And I would cede the floor to my colleagues, but I believe they have no further questions.
The President. Thank you. It appears that the other defense teams do not have any question to put to the witness, and if you do, you may proceed. But if not, the hearing of the testimony of Mr. Sok Chen comes to an end. Mr. Sok Chen, your testimony before us has come to an end. You may now return to your home or any destination you wish to go. And we would like to take this opportunity to thank you very much for taking time to testify before this court. Particularly, you have made every effort to respond to all the questions put to you. Your testimony contributes significantly to ascertaining the truth. Court officer is instructed to coordinate with the VESU unit for the transport of this witness back home. Mr. Sok Chen, you are now released, and we wish you the best of luck and safe trip back home. Court officer is now instructed to bring in the civil party TCCP 64 to the courtroom. The President, the Chamber wishes to advise the parties that in accordance with the request by Ieng Sari, dated the 1st of October 2012, through his defense counsel, that he has expressed his waiver of his right to be present directly in this courtroom in relation to a number of witnesses in civil party, including the civil party before us now, TCCP 64. Mr. Ieng Sari is now being hospitalized at the Khmer Soviet Friendship Hospital, and he has waived his right to be present directly in the hearing of the testimony of this civil party due to his health reason. And the chamber decides to hear the testimony of TCCP 64 without the direct presence of Mr. Ieng Sari in accordance with Rule 81(5) of the internal rules of the extraordinary chambers. Good afternoon, civil party. What is your name? Response. Good afternoon, Mr. President and Your Honors. My name is Lai Bunni. I was born on the 20th of March 1950 in Songkat number 4, Phnom Penh. President, thank you, Madam Lai Bunni. Where is your current residence? Response. I live in Trapang Chuk village, street 371, Tekla commune, Phnom Penh city. Question. What is your occupation now? Response. I am a housewife. Questions. What is your father's name? My father's name is Lai Krui. He is deceased. Question. How about your mother? What is her name? Response. My mother's name is Kut Sin. She is deceased. Thank you. Question. How about your husband? What is his name and how many children have you got? Response. Do you mean my present husband? My present husband is Chan Savon and I have 3 children. The President. Now, in your capacity as civil party, you may take this opportunity to express to the court the injury you have sustained physically, materially, which may have resulted from the crimes that took place during the period of the Democratic Cambodia that amounted to your application to join as a civil party before the chamber. And you may also express the suffering and injuries that you sustained during that period. And this right is being granted to you, and you may make this statement at the conclusion of the testimony. The chamber will grant you appropriate time to make such a statement, and we advise you from an outset so that you may prepare yourself accordingly when you wish to express the sufferings and injuries you sustained during the period. The lead co-lawyer for the civil parties, in accordance with Rule 91 of the internal rules, the chamber hand over the floor to the civil party lead co-lawyers to put the question before any other parties to these proceedings. You may now have the floor. Council Pechong. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honors. For this particular civil party, Lawyer Moj Savanari and Counsel Simonofort will put the question to the civil party. The President, thank you. Counsel, you may proceed. Lawyer Moj Savanari. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honors. And good afternoon, civil party. I will start the question first, and then Madame Simonofort will follow. My questions will based largely on the statement of the civil party before the co-investigating judge. Dated the 6th of August 2009, document D 246/2. And with your leave, Mr. President, I would like to have this statement present to the civil party and have it projected on the screen. The President, court officer is instructed to obtain a hard copy from the civil party lawyers and present it to the witness for her examination. With the document you are being presented, do you recall that there were staff members from the extraordinary chambers in the courts of Cambodia went to interview you? The President, Madame Lai Buni, please be reminded that you should wait until you see the red light is on before you speak, so that your voice can get through the sound systems and then the interpretation can get through. You may proceed. I remember that following my application to join as a civil party, there was a summons calling me to meet at somewhere around Kapko market. I saw that they were asking me to discuss my application. They put to me certain questions, and I responded to their questions. And I recall having that interview. Thank you. I would like to break my question into three parts in relation to this document. The first part concerns your family status as well as your living condition before the victory of the Khmer Rouge on the 17th of April 1975. And the second part of my question concerns the reason for the eviction of you and your family out of Phnom Penh city. And the third part of my question concerns the second wave of evacuation of you and your family from Ksat Kandal in Kandal province to Bakan district in Posat province. My first question to you, that was before the arrival of the Khmer Rouge soldier in Phnom Penh. And in order to follow up with this question, I would like to ask you to look at in Khmer of the same document, 00373245. English 00379155, and French 00422447. According to this statement, you say that your son died before the arrival of the Khmer Rouge soldier, which was on the 17th of April 1975. Can you tell the court the conditions and the overall living condition of the delivery of your baby? At that time, were you not allowed to deliver your baby in the hospital? Response. At the time, the country was in a chaotic situation. I was pregnant, and it was mature at that time. So I stayed in front of Longat Hospital, clinics, and at that time there were a rocket launched over Cambodia Hotel. So my mother did not send me to the hospital because she was concerned that we would separate. So she asked the midwife, the traditional midwife, to come and help me deliver the baby. So she asked one midwife, and I at that time had to sustain a long labor pain. It was rather long, but then finally I could deliver the baby, but unfortunately my baby died prematurely before it was born. And I thought that that was because of the improper delivery of the baby due to the unprofessional medical level of the midwife. And at that time I did not feel very well after delivering the baby because probably there were lack of hygiene during my delivery. So I went to a hospital afterwards in order to have my health check. But 20 days afterwards, on the 17th of April 1975, I had to be evicted out of my home and out of the city as well, just 20 days after I delivered my baby. Thank you. I would like to refer to the same document, but in another section, in the relevant ELN in Khmer 00373245, in English 00379156, in French 00422447. At that time, you told the investigator that your husband was the captain in the army during Lon Nol, and I would like to expand a bit further. Your husband was a captain in Lon Nol soldiers, and when did he leave the Lon Nol soldier? In other words, when did he remove his military uniform of Lon Nol soldier? Response. At the time, my husband had to remove the uniform, but it was before the Khmer New Year. At that time, the country was in a very chaotic situation, and Lon Nol was evacuated somewhere else. So those soldiers who were standing guard of his house had to return home at that time, and he had to abandon his soldier status and remove his uniforms. Question. In relation to the condition of the Lon Nol soldiers at that time, is it a fair summary to say that the Lon Nol soldier abandoned Phnom Penh city when Lon Nol left Phnom Penh? Is that a fair summary of the event at that time as it unfolded? Respond. I do not recall the events at that time, but to my recollection, my husband told me that Lon Nol, the field marshal Lon Nol, had left Phnom Penh, so he did not go to work as regularly as before. He just went there once in a while. So my next question is in relation to the overall condition of the people in Phnom Penh before the entry of Khmer Rouge soldier in Phnom Penh. What was the overall situation like in Phnom Penh? I mean, in relation to the foodstuff and also security issue in Phnom Penh. Can you tell the court the overall situation of Phnom Penh at the time, just before the Khmer Rouge came? Response. At the time, the situation was very, very chaotic, and at that time, the food price surged. We could hardly find any rice to buy, and the commodities in general was very volatile, and there were many people, influx of people from the countryside into Phnom Penh. And as for my families, we had to dig up the trench just underneath our house. And at that time, we were prepared to hide ourselves in the trench. And we were looking for other stuff. And at that time, I did not really have problem with food shortage, because my husband was a soldier, and then the soldier were given sufficient rice at that time. So in my family, we did not have problem with rice, but we had problems with other food stuff like meat and things like that. And at that times, we heard the firing as well as the shelling from everywhere across the country, and then we were very attentive to the situation at that time, and it was real chaotic. And before the fall of Phnom Penh, we could hardly describe situation because we did not know what was what at that time. It was real chaotic. Thank you. So you experienced living in such a chaos situation. What was your expectation of the Khmer Rouge soldiers in Phnom Penh following the 17th of April victory? Response. Following the victory on the 17th of 1975, the country was in a chaotic situation, and as I said, there was a huge influx of the country people into Phnom Penh. When the Khmer Rouge soldier came in, we were very happy. We congratulated them. We thought that they would bring peace to the country. We raised white clothes to welcome them. We saw people chanting and clapping along the street, and everyone believed that Cambodia or peace would return to Cambodia. Question. Thank you. So now I would like to move on to the eviction of you out of Phnom Penh. So immediately after the Khmer Rouge entered Phnom Penh, where did you live? We would like to know the specific location where you resided when the Khmer Rouge came to Phnom Penh. When I was sick, at that time, I stayed in a house in front of Long Ngat Hospital, and once I got better, then I came to stay in my house near Mangkot Pik Theatre near Pet Chen. I continued to stay in my house, but I stayed there for just a few days. Then on the 17th of April, the Khmer Rouge soldier came to Phnom Penh, and they ordered that we had to leave our house immediately. And they ordered us to leave on the pretext that the Americans would bomb the city. So they wanted the residents of Phnom Penh to leave for a temporary period, say 3 to 7 days. And at that time, I had 2 children. One was 3 years old, the other one was 5 years old. So I could not carry many stuff with myself, and I thought to myself that I could simply have the money so I could buy anything in the countryside. So I did not bring many stuff with me. I only brought the banknotes with me. But immediately when I left the city, I heard from people that they did not use banknotes anymore. Banknotes were not in use. And what is more, I also saw that there were a lot of roadblocks out of city, and there were jams, and there were people all over the street, and we had to move very slowly from Kotpik to the Royal University of Law. Took me the whole morning, And at that time, it was a very tough day in my life because I had just delivered my baby and I had to travel on foot. I had to carry my 2 kids with me as well, and under the daylight and sunlight. And it was a very, very tough moment in my life. I had never endured such a tough life before. Before, I had many house helpers at my place, but it was a very difficult moment in my life. And then after the night, I walked past Chba Ampo Bridge. Lawyer, thank you, Madam, thank you. I will move on to that part of the journey out of Phnom Penh, but I would like to ask you to slow down a little bit for the interpreters to render it properly. Question. So after the victory of the Khmer Rouge, did the Khmer Rouge announce anything for the public once they took power? Response. At that time, they announced through radio broadcast, the national radio broadcast, saying that the Khmer Rouge took complete control of the country. So people in Phnom Penh, the Phnom Penh dwellers, remained silent and calm and stayed in their house until further instruction or information be given. Question. In the radio broadcast, did they make mention any plan of evacuation of people out of the city? Response. I did not hear the announcement on radio in relation to that particular instruction, but the direct instruction we received were from the soldiers who came to our house. Question. You said just now that there were orders from the soldiers. They ordered you to leave your house. So in your recollection, in your record of interview, the relevant year and in Khmer 0037 3245, that is the same page in Khmer, and English 00379155, and French 00422447. On this part of the interview, you said that they had weapons with them, they had guns with them, so we were asked to leave our house at gunpoint, so we had to leave. So I would like to ask you precisely how many soldiers came to your house in order you leave?
Initially, I saw only one soldier coming to my house, but after, during the time that we were talking, 2 more Khmer Rouge soldiers arrived, and every one of them carried a gun. Question, what uniforms were they wearing? Response, they were wearing black uniform, and they wore a cap or a beret. Question, when they entered your house, what was their attitude and what did they tell you? Response, at that time I was in my house. They were quite animated, talking to my husband and to my neighbors who were living on the ground floor. I live on the upper floor. And after that, after they left, my husband came up to me and told me that they firmly ordered us to leave immediately, that we could no longer stay in our house. And as my husband saw them in their firm character, with guns, then we decided to pack our house and put on the truck. So 4 or 5 families living in that house also packed our belongings and put on the truck. Question, did you protest that you did not want to leave? Response. At that time, we dare not protest because we saw them carrying guns on their shoulder and their attitude was very firm. Thank you. Question. When the Khmer Rouge soldiers entered your house, did they know that your husband was a former Lone military officer? Respond. No, they did not go to the upper floor, so they were not aware that my husband was a military officer. Question. Can we say that your husband concealed his identity when he spoke to the Khmer Rouge soldiers? Did you see what kind of treatment the Khmer Rouge soldiers did to the Lone soldiers? Response. I saw some events and I was told by others that the Lone soldiers had their hands, their arms tied behind their back as they look at the ankles of those people and they could see whether they were former military officers or soldiers. Question. Your entire family was forced to evacuate from Phnom Penh. Can you tell the court what were the members of your family and how many altogether? Response. At that time, there were 4 of us in my family, namely my husband, myself, and our 2 children. However, when we left on the track, there were my cousins who were living together with us, and then the 2 families of the housemate of my cousin, they were also boarding that track. Question. Let me now move to the part that you were en route leaving Phnom Penh. In your document on page in Khmer with the EN 00373246 and English 00379156 and 56257 in French 00422448. You stated that if anyone had to return back home, then that person would be shot by the soldiers. The question is, how did you learn about that? Did the Khmer Rouge make such an announcement? Response. I learned that through my husband and my relatives who were traveling with us as we saw dead bodies along the road and we asked what happened to them and we were told that those people wanted to return back and they were shot. And that's how I learned about that. Question. On the same page, you also stated that en route you saw people being evacuated from the Russian hospital and that you saw sick people living on the bed and some of them were traveling and were pushed by other people. The question is, did you see the sick people who were evacuated from the hospital, and if so, how many of them did you see? Response. At that time, I could not describe the real event, but from what I see from the track, I saw them and I asked what happened to them, and they said that they were from the hospital. There were hospital beds and some of them had the IV injection on. Those who could walk would walk and those who could not walk would be carried, and some of them would stay on the hospital bed and were pushed or pulled by another person. Questioned, during the evacuation of people from the hospital, did you see that the Khmer Rouge soldiers were managing such evacuation? And if so, can you describe what was their attitude toward the sick people or the patients who were evacuated from the hospital? Response. At that time, I saw Khmer Rouge soldiers. Their facial expressions were firm, they carried guns, and their eyes moved around, but they did not pay much attention to the patient. They said all people had to be evacuated, including the patients. They all had to leave Phnom Penh. Question. In the same document, on the same page, you also stated that you saw dead bodies along the road in Prek Pra. My first question relating to this point is that the Prek Pra village that you spoke of, where was it located? Response. Prek Pra village was located near at the base of the Chba Ampel bridge. It was on the road to the side of the bridge, and it is mostly occupied by the Cham people now. Question. When you arrived firstly at that village, what was the situation like? Response. Upon my first arrival, I was very thirsty due to the heat from the sun. So I asked my husband to look after the two children, and I went to look for water. At that time, it was in early evening, and I saw dead bodies, and I moved to another place, another house. I also saw dead bodies. So I was so terrified and shocked because I did not see such dead bodies around before. So I left and I met other people who also told me that they also saw dead bodies elsewhere, but we did not know how they died. Question. The dead bodies that you saw, were they fresh dead bodies or were they already decomposing? Response. At that time there was no bad smell yet, otherwise we would not enter the house, and there were young children in the hammock, and there were also women. Question. Let me now move on. In the same document on the page with the Khmer EIN 0037 3246 247, in English 0037 9157, and in French 0042 2448. My apology for 9. You stated that you could no longer move further because you just recently delivered a baby, and my husband got off the truck and the truck went ahead. We stayed in that pagoda for 2 weeks. My question is, which of your relatives went ahead and which remained with you? Response. At that time, we across the Kakrabay commune in order to go to Sang commune. There was a pagoda and we stayed in that pagoda. I was very unwell and my husband said that we could no longer move. We had to stay in the pagoda. At that time, my cousin who used to live with us, he also stopped and rested in the pagoda. And the people on the track asked whether we wanted to go with them, but my husband responded that we could no longer go because I was unwell as I recently delivered the baby. And then we were told that they had to go ahead in order to meet with Angka and the situation would become better. But by then I didn't know what Angka was. Question regarding your personal health. I have a question for you. During the time that you stayed at the Swipe-Rotil village, what was the situation like? What were measures taken by the Khmer Rouge soldiers toward the evacuees? For example, food supply, accommodation, and medicines, in particular regarding your unhealthy status and your two young children. Did they provide any medical care to you? Response. At that time, I did not see any Khmer Rouge soldiers taking any steps in taking care of the people. I lived there for 4 to 5 days. And initially, when we arrived, we had no rice to cook because we already spent the rice en route. So I went into the village. And I was told that even the best people there did not have rice to eat. In fact, they actually used corn in place of the rice. And then I begged for corn from them in exchange of some of the possessions that I had. And that was the time that my younger daughter had her bowel problem because that was the first time that she ate such food. So her stomach would not be able to sustain such food. And after we ate such a food for 4 to 5 days, and while I was unwell, some of the best people came to me. And I actually asked them about the situation back in the village, and I was told that I should register our name, and then I could get the food ration from the soldiers there, and I did that. So then I got some rice. For each person, we was given 1 can of rice per day. So as we had 4 members in our family, we got 4 cans of rice. We got rice, but we had to look for other food stuff. And at that time, my younger daughter was sick, and we did not have any medicines for the treatment. So for that, my younger daughter got that disease since. Question. In that same document, you also stated that you left Swipe-Rotil village and arrived at the Chư Til commune in Kin Swai district. On page with the Khmer EIN 00373247, in English 00379158, and in French 00422449. You stated that we wanted to go to Sakanda district as my mother lived there. The question to you is that during such chaotic situation, how could you know that your mother was still there? Response. At that time, I knew that my family members, including my mother and my aunt, already reached Ancheng Le village in Sakanda district, as my cousin was looking for us. And then we met my cousin, and I was told that my family members already reached that location. So we prepared our belongings together with my cousin. Whatever we could carry, we carried. and my cousin had her children who were rather teenagers. So we returned to Kiên Svai district at the Chư Tiêu commune, and there was a road leading to at the commune. So we returned to that location in order to meet my mother. I was thinking that I was unwell and my daughter was unwell, and if I could meet my family members, they would be able to support me either physically or mentally, or they could find herbal medicine for our treatment. Question: on the same page, you also stated that Khmer rules did not allow you to go ahead and that you could not return, and if you attempted to return, the Khmer rules would kill you. How did you learn about that? Were you threatened not to return, or what happened at the time? Response: at that time, once we left, there were military checkpoints, and we were told that we could not proceed further and that we should enter the village and not to wander around, and that uncle would take a measure. But I rested on the road, but I did not enter the village. During the day we rested, but at night we tried to flee, but we were caught and we were returned. But on the fourth night we could flee, but my cousin by then didn't want to wait for us, so my cousin already had left. So my husband and I had to flee with a little bit of a belonging. I carried my younger daughter at the front and my older child at the back. At that time, we did not have any means of transportation. We had to carry our belonging by ourselves and walked on foot. And at that time, you could imagine, I just delivered a baby, so my health was very weak. And my cousin who stopped at the Svai Protil village didn't go further because they decided to live in that village. But my husband and I decided to flee, and yes, we fled. Question: in your written record of interview, you stated that you were evacuated from Phnom Penh, passing through Rason Hospital, Prey Pra, Koh Kro Bay, Kiên Svai, Svai Protil, Saang, until you reached Anchailer village in Ksai Kandal district, Kandal province, where your mother reached that location before you. So my question is, en route from Phnom Penh to Ksai Kandal district, did you notice that Khmer soldiers checked the biography of the people traveling on road? Response: I did not see that at that time. However, let me go a little bit further. When I met my mother, my mother told me that my other in-law, who was a colonel, was gathered and returned to Phnom Penh in order to work in Phnom Penh as he was informed. Question: so in order to link to the second phase of evacuation, during the time that you stay at the cooperative in Ksai Kandal district, Kandal province, did the Khmer Rouge cadres receive you properly together with other evacuees? I mean, in terms of accommodation, work arrangement. for newly arrived people like yourself? Response. At that time when I first arrived, I registered my name with Comrade John. John was the chief of the group, and I knew that a person. So I registered my name with his group. So we were allowed to stay in his house. It was a big house. So the house could be called the house of the rich, where people in that area. We stayed in that house, and I worked in the farm. Firstly, we went to build dikes. At that time, it was not yet a rainy season. And later on, we were given a plot of land to build a house. My mother and I, including other people comprising of 10 members, was given a plot of land, and we built a small hut from bamboos. So my other sisters and her family also built a house nearby. So we worked during the day, and we returned to the house at noon. It became a regular habit. And during the rainy season, I went to transplant the rice seedlings. At that time, I did not know how to do that. I had to learn how to do it. I tried my best how to follow the local people there, because I was afraid that if I could not do it, I would be killed. And one time I went to transplant rice at Prekong Wan Bridge. It is still located in Pok Rasay commune these days, and I was asked to cross the lake in order to transplant the rice, but I did not know how to swim, and I drowned. However, I was helped by other women. I almost drowned. And from that day, I tried my best to work hard and try to do as best as I could with the best people there. Allow me to interrupt you, as I have some other questions later. As the President informed you, you will have the opportunity to express your suffering at the end of your testimony. You spoke of a person by the name of John in your written record of interview. In the document with the Khmer EIN 00373247-48, and in English 00379158, and in French 00422450. You stated that John was the chief of the group of the Khmer Rouge and was a relative of yours, and that John concealed your identity and the identity of your relatives. How did you know that he had concealed the identities of your family members? Response: I knew because the wife of John told me. Because we knew the wife of John. John's wife was an in-law of my uncle, and they of course knew well of our background. So she told me that staying here, I had to conceal our identity, and if we were asked about the profession of my husband, I should tell anyone that he was a taxi driver, and never ever say that he was a military officer. So I told all my relatives and family members about that, and John also tried to conceal that information, and of course it was concealed. And another relative member of John had her husband as a military officer, but because the villagers there knew the person, that person was taken away and never returned. He was taken away at night, and for that reason he warned us not to reveal our identity. Question. Allow me to move to the second phase of your evacuation from Ksai Kondal, District Kondal Province to Kampong Chnang Province. In the same document, you stated that Pat, the village chief, arrived at your house and informed you that you had to pack your belongings in order to depart for Battambang Province. You also state only newcomers were evacuated. I have a few questions regarding this point. The words that you use, newcomers, what kind of people were you referring to when you use these terms? Response. Newcomers, as I stated in that statement, I meant the 17 April people who were evacuated from Phnom Penh and who newly arrived, as in our case. Question. When that village chief told you to leave your house from Kondal Province for Battambang Province, did he tell you whether he received instruction from anyone in particular? Response. At that time, he did not tell me that. What he told me was to pack our belongings, that newcomers would be taken to live or to resettle in Battambang Province, which was a better and rich province with enough food and rice to eat. And down there, it was insufficient as we newly liberated the country. Question. You said Pat was the village chief. Can you tell the court whether Pat, in his capacity as the village chief, what was his role in terms of the Khmer Rouge's administrative structure? Response. I did not know about that. I was only told that he was the village chief. And within the village, it was divided into various groups. I only learned of that information from somebody else, but I did not know of what status he was amongst the Khmer Rouge cadres. Question. Did the village chief tell you the reason that your family and the newcomers had to be moved to Battambang Province and not the base people? Response. Yes, he did. He said that we had to go to Battambang as Battambang had plenty of rice, and down here Angkar could only accommodate a certain amount of families, and the food was insufficient, and there was plenty of food in Battambang. And when we learned about that, we was rather happy, as Battambang was a rich province. Question. Can you then tell the court who actually organized for your trip to leave your house in Ksai Kondal district toward Battambang Province? Who made such arrangement? Response. It was the village chief. After I packed my belongings, an ox cart came to the front of our house. We put the belongings onto the cart, and the person who rides the ox cart knew the duty where they had to drop us off from the cart. Mr. President, I have 5 or 6 more questions to be put to this witness, to this civil party, but the time is now appropriate for the break. President, the political lawyers for civil party and the prosecution, you are reminded that the time allocated to you is for one morning session, and now you spent 1 hour already, so you will have a part of tomorrow morning session to question this civil party. Please try to use your time effectively. Thank you, Ms. Civil Party. The time is appropriate for the adjournment today, and we will resume tomorrow morning starting from 9 a.m. And for tomorrow proceeding, we will continue to hear the testimony of Lai Boni. Mrs. Lai Boni, your testimony has not yet concluded, and you are invited to return to testify again tomorrow morning. Court officer, in coordination with WISU, could you assist this civil party to return to her accommodation and have her return tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Security guards, you are instructed to take the two accused Nunji and Kisampon to the detention facility and have them return to the court room tomorrow morning prior to 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.